Good afternoon, my name is Ricardo Garza and I'll be presenting my experiment. My experiment was conducted on: do dogs behave better if the owner spends more time with them? So this is my introduction, guys. My introduction was based off if there was any behavioral changes based off it if the owner would spend more time with them. And as stated by Dotman et al. In 2018, behavior problems are known to be the most common reason for owners to surrender their dogs to shelters. So this experiment was basically conducted on if the behavior of the dog in this experiment would change in a positive aspect if that dog spent more time with its owner. Purpose. The purpose of this experiment was to analyze if the dog's behavior would change during the experiment. So throughout the 5 days that the dog was tested, the purpose of it was to see if its behavior would change in a positive or negative way. Throughout those 5 days, the owner was spending an average of about an hour with the dog more than they usually would. And negative behavior in this dog particularly manifested in what appeared to be digging up holes in the yard that were unwanted, tearing fabrics up, and messing hardware that was left in the yard unattended and uncared for. So that was the bad behavior that this dog was showing before the experiment. Materials and methods. Methods, as I already noted, the bad behavior was what we were really looking at here. It was the digging holes, the tearing fabrics, and messing with greenery in the yard and stuff like that. Materials was a portable dog water bowl, a dog leash that measured around 6 feet, that was 6 feet, a dog harness size XL, some tennis shoes for the dog owner. We used the Nike running app to track distances, and a smartphone so that we could use the app and we could track exactly how much, so that it could be tracked how much was walked throughout the days. The participants was a 20-year-old college student and an 8-month-old dog husky. That's the breed of the dog. It was a husky. He was 8 months old and he is a male. The dog is a male. Precautions. Precautions that we took was to make sure that the owner was in good standing. Proper measures for the dog as well, like vaccinations and medications, were all up to date. Because as stated, Westgard et al. States in the article, dog behavior on walks and the effect of use of the leash. Walking a dog does present a risk of infectious diseases transmission between dogs, for example, and the transmission of the upper respiratory tract diseases. Westgard et al. 2010. So we took the necessary precautions were taken to make sure that the dog was up to date with everything and the owner was healthy. Day 1. The dog was walked approximately 2.8 miles every day. Time did vary throughout the days, how fast or how slow they got the 2.8 miles. The first day, it was still a total of an hour and 13 minutes with the owner, of course. And coming back home, the dog was released into the backyard. It is worth noting that 2 rags were left on purpose, unattended, and all the holes that had been previously dug had been all patched up. So there was virtually no holes in the yard. Starting the earlier usually with dogs is better when it comes to changing behavior, as stated by the AVMA in 2015. The earlier the better. Day 2. Procedure continued. Dog was walked an hour and 4 minutes, totaling also 2.8 miles. Dog was released back into the backyard once home. None of the rags were destroyed and there was no signs of holes in day 2. Day 3, dog was walked an hour and 27 minutes for 2.8 miles. The dog was released back into the yard and he seemed a little bit less active this time that he was released. No rags had been damaged or holes were dug by this day. No holes or rags were damaged by day 3. Procedure continued. Day 4, the dog was walked a total of 56 minutes this day, totaling also to 2.8 miles. He was released back into the backyard. As soon as he was released into the backyard, he drank water and took a nap. A piece of cloth, we did note that again, the experiment, it was noted that a piece of cloth had been moved that day, but there was no signs of holes being dug. On the last day, which is day 5, the dog was walked for an hour and 22 minutes, totaling 2.8 miles. The dog seemed less active on the final day once released back into the backyard. No rags were destroyed or holes dug on the final day. And for conclusion, from the data collected, the dog was digging an average of 4.2 holes every 5 days. Rags were torn if left unattended most of the time. Throughout the course of the experiment, none of this manifested, for the exception of some rags. Only some rags were being moved. So in the experiment, it was really in a gray area if that was considered bad behavior, but it was the rag was just moved. It wasn't destroyed. Overall behavior did improve during the experiment. There was no holes were dug up and no rags were essentially destroyed but moved, as mentioned earlier. It is worth noting that dogs will have different reactions. As stated by R.A.N. Hindle, J.S. in 1973, great variability can be seen in the ease in which they learn different tasks. This will vary from dog to dog, breed to breed. It's all unique. No two dogs are the same. So there is a great, as mentioned by R.A. and Hindle in 1973, there is a great variability among dogs. And these are my references. Thank you.